Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and members of this committee for taking up and passing the TRACED Act today. I'm grateful to Senator Markey for partnering with me on this important legislation and for the overwhelming bipartisan support from numerous members of this committee. As nearly half of all calls to mobile phones this year will be robocalls, this legislation can't get signed into law soon enough. There's a Washington Post story from yesterday said that robocallers rang Americans' phones 26 billion times last year. So high time for Congress to act. No one is immune from these annoying and even potentially dangerous calls. The TRACED Act is a bipartisan effort targeting the worst of the worst, scam artists and others who knowingly violate the law. We need federal law enforcement, diplomats, state attorneys general, of which all 50 state AGs support this bill, and telecommunications experts to all work together and determine what systems and what potential laws can create a credible threat of prosecution for those who flout the law to prey upon the elderly and the vulnerable. The TRACE Act mandates that these entities get together to do just that. This legislation also tackles the frustrating issue of spoof calls, where scammers make it look like a call is coming from a known caller, by ensuring the adoption of an industry-developed framework for call authentication. Tackling the issue of robocalls is not easy, especially doing so in a bipartisan manner. The TRACED Act reflects thoughtful input and feedback from a variety of stakeholders. I'm committed, Mr. Chairman, to getting this legislation across the finish line. Look forward to working with Senator Markey, committee staff, you and others who also that we can continue to advance this important bipartisan legislation. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that letters of support for the legislation from NTCA, CTIA, Verizon, U.S. Telecom, ETA, and statements in support from all FCC and FTC commissioners be made a part of the hearing record.
Without objection, they'll be made a part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.